Some moments don't announce themselves as life-changing. They arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary inconveniences, asking only for a few minutes of your time. I almost drove past that stranded car on the side of the road because I was already late, exhausted, and carrying problems of my own. If I had pressed the accelerator instead of the brake that rainy afternoon, my life would have followed a completely different path. Looking back now, I realize that destiny sometimes waits beside the road, hoping that someone still believes kindness matters. Before we continue, if you believe that one act of kindness can change a life and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more heartwarming stories that remind us the world is still full of good people. At that point in my life, I wasn't exactly someone who looked forward to helping strangers. I had spent months struggling after losing my job at a small manufacturing company where I had worked for almost 12 years. Every morning felt heavier than the last. Bills continued arriving while opportunities seemed determined to avoid me. My savings had nearly disappeared, and every interview ended with the same polite rejection. I had reached a place where even small disappointments felt overwhelming. That afternoon, I was driving home after another unsuccessful interview, replaying every answer I had given and convincing myself I had failed before I even walked into the building. The rain had been falling for hours, turning the highway into a long stretch of shimmering gray. Most drivers hurried past with their headlights cutting through the mist. That's when I noticed an old blue sedan sitting awkwardly on the shoulder with its hazard lights blinking weakly through the rain. Beside it stood an elderly woman in a soaked coat, trying unsuccessfully to push the vehicle while clutching an umbrella that kept turning inside out in the wind. Car after car sped past without slowing down. For a moment, I became one of those drivers. I kept going. Then something inside me refused to let the image disappear. I glanced into the rearview mirror, sighed deeply, and turned the car around. As I stepped into the cold rain, I could see exhaustion written across her face. She looked proud enough that asking for help probably hadn't come easily. The mud beneath the tires made it obvious why the car wouldn't move. After several attempts, my shoes were soaked and my hands covered in dirt, but eventually we managed to free the wheels and guide the car onto firmer ground. It wasn't a heroic rescue. It was messy, tiring, and far from graceful. Yet when the engine finally started again, the relief that spread across her face was worth every uncomfortable second. She thanked me with the kind of gratitude that seemed almost too large for such a simple favor. Before leaving, she insisted I take a small folded note with her address written on it. She said she liked thanking people properly and hoped I would visit someday for coffee. I smiled politely, tucked the paper into my wallet, and honestly expected never to think about it again. Life had trained me to believe that brief encounters usually ended exactly where they began. Weeks passed. My situation grew even more difficult. My landlord reminded me that rent was overdue. My old car began making frightening noises every time I started it. I found myself questioning whether hard work really mattered anymore. One evening, while searching my wallet for the last bit of cash I had, the folded note slipped onto the floor. I stared at the address for a long moment before deciding I had nothing to lose by visiting. The house surprised me. It wasn't a mansion or an extravagant estate. It was a beautiful but modest home surrounded by colorful flowers and tall oak trees. The woman welcomed me with genuine warmth that made the place feel brighter than the cloudy afternoon outside. The smell of fresh bread filled the kitchen, and for the first time in months, I felt like someone was simply happy to see me without expecting anything in return. As we talked, I learned that she had lost her husband several years earlier. The loneliness in her eyes was familiar because it resembled the emptiness I had been carrying inside myself. She told me that many people assumed older individuals no longer needed friendship or support, but loneliness often became heavier with age. Helping her that rainy day had reminded her that kindness still existed. I admitted that stopping for her had almost felt impossible because my own life seemed to be falling apart. We laughed quietly at how two struggling strangers had unknowingly rescued each other. Before I left, she handed me a sealed envelope and asked me not to open it until I reached home. I thanked her, assuming it was probably a handwritten thank you card. When I finally opened it that evening, I found a letter along with the business card of a community foundation. In her elegant handwriting, she explained that she served on the foundation's volunteer board and believed I possessed something far more valuable than experience listed on a resume. She wrote that character reveals itself when no one is watching, especially when someone chooses kindness despite carrying burdens of their own. She encouraged me to contact the foundation because they were searching for someone to coordinate local community outreach programs. At first I doubted anything would come from it. I had grown accustomed to disappointment. Still, I called the number. Days later, I sat through another interview, but this one felt different. Instead of focusing only on qualifications, they wanted to know about the people I had helped, the challenges I had overcome, and what compassion meant to me. For the first time in years, I wasn't pretending to be someone else. I simply shared my story honestly. A week later, my phone rang with news that brought tears to my eyes. I had been offered the position. The salary wasn't extraordinary, but it was enough to rebuild my life. More importantly, the work involved organizing food drives, supporting struggling families, helping senior citizens, and coordinating volunteers during emergencies. Every single day reminded me that even the smallest acts of kindness could ripple through countless lives. Months turned into years, and my world slowly transformed. Financial stability returned, but something even greater changed inside me. I no longer measured success by promotions or paychecks alone. I measured it by the smiles of families receiving groceries, by lonely neighbors discovering friendship, and by young volunteers learning that compassion isn't weakness but remarkable strength. Each project reminded me of the rainy afternoon that almost never happened. The elderly woman became like family. We celebrated birthdays together, shared holiday meals, and spent countless afternoons talking about life. She often said that people spend too much time searching for miracles while overlooking the opportunity to become one for somebody else. Those words stayed with me long after she peacefully passed away several years later. At her memorial service, dozens of people shared stories of quiet generosity she had shown throughout her life. Only then did I truly understand that helping strangers had always been her way of changing the world, one person at a time. Today, whenever I drive past a stranded vehicle or see someone carrying more than they can manage alone, I remember that rainy highway. I remember how close I came to driving away. I remember believing I had nothing left to give when, in reality, the little kindness I offered returned to me in ways I never imagined. Life doesn't always reward good deeds immediately, and sometimes it never does in ways we expect. But kindness has a remarkable habit of finding its way back through unexpected people, unexpected moments, and unexpected blessings. If this story has touched your heart, please share one act of kindness that changed your life, or one kind thing you've done for someone else, in the comments below. Your story could become the encouragement someone desperately needs today. As we reach the end, if this story reminded you that hope can appear in the most ordinary moments, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Every interaction helps spread these messages of compassion to people who may need them more than we realize. I still keep that old folded note safely tucked inside my wallet. The paper has faded, and the edges have worn with time, but it reminds me that our greatest opportunities rarely arrive wrapped in comfort or convenience. Sometimes they appear on a rainy roadside beside a stranger whose car won't move. Sometimes they ask only for a few minutes, a little patience, and a willing heart. And sometimes, without realizing it, the person you stop to save ends up saving you instead. That simple decision taught me that the most valuable journeys in life begin not when we follow our plans, but when we choose kindness over convenience, proving that one selfless moment can echo through an entire lifetime.